Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome to the Washington Women's Foundation annual meeting. Welcome in. Good afternoon. Isabel, can you let me know when a good time would be to start?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like we have 40 folks in right now. We're expecting 85, so I'd say
Oh,
maybe we can give it another another minute. I doubt we would reach 85, but let's give it maybe one other minute and wait for other folks to join us.
fantastic. I love that. All right. Good afternoon. It's so wonderful to see familiar faces, new faces as well. Maybe put in the chat what the weather is like where you are right now.
And I think we could maybe go ahead and get started. I'm guessing a lot of others are going to join us, but things are kind of slowing down a bit in the waiting room. So I think we're good.
Fantastic. All right. Okay, thank you. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Washington Women's Foundation annual meeting. I'm Chris Kamanishi, Chair of the Board of Directors. Thank you for being here and so great to see you. Today, our time together is framed with an acknowledgement that the land we love is stolen land. We are gathered on a stolen and unceded homeland within the context of broken treaties and unresolved harms to Indigenous peoples. Here in Seattle, we are on the land of the Duwamish people and of the Coast Salish, the Stillaguamish, the Duwamish, the Muckleshoot, and the Suquamish, who have made and continue to make their homes around the Salish Sea and in the shadow of the great mountain Tahoma. We must also recognize that we live, work, play, and learn in a nation and a state of great wealth, a nation with wealth created by the subjugation and exploitation of African peoples brought to this land through chattel slavery, a state with wealth that stands indebted to exploited Chinese immigrants who built the railroads, to Japanese Americans whose livelihoods were stolen in the internment camps of World War II, and to immigrant and migrant workers who, to this day, labor in the rich fields and farms across our prosperous state. We honor and uplift here today the original Indigenous stewards of this land, the forced contributions from generations of Africans, and the exploited labor of immigrants and migrant workers yesterday and today. As we think here together, I ask you to acknowledge the stolen land, stolen labor, and recognize that the impact of these wrongs reverberates and in many cases is still being perpetuated into our present day. I'd like to thank you all for being here and for your membership. Members and staff, you make our learning community possible. It's been a year of education, growth, and accomplishments at the foundation. In today's program, and may I have the slides, please? And the first slide, the agenda. Fantastic. Today we will vote on the slate of directors. We'll share our financial position, take a look back and a look forward, reveal the 2024 funding and learning priorities, and have Q&A at the end. This event is being recorded and will be shared with members afterwards. Before the slate is presented, I'd like to thank our departing board directors. We have 3 board directors who will be completing their service at the end of this year. They are Chris Charbonneau, Ann Kumasaka, and Julie Berg. I will share a bit about each of them and ask that you hold your virtual applause until the end. Chris Charbonneau has served 9 years on the board. She led the board as chair for 2 years, including during the president and CEO transition. She served on the finance committee throughout her tenure. And she co-led the membership task force, which included the development of the community norms and the new membership tiers. Thank you, Chris Charbonneau. Anne Kumasaka served for 7 years on the board. She served in board leadership, including chair for 2 years, vice chair, and secretary. She served on the governance committee throughout her tenure. She co-led the president and CEO search committee that brought Maria to the foundation. She chaired the community resource group and also chaired the DEI task force. Thank you, Anne Kumasaka. Julie Berg has served 3 years on the board, member and chair of the governance committee. She led the development of the board competency model to focus recruitment and retention of board members. You'll be hearing from Julie shortly as she will present the slate of directors as our governance chair. So thank you, Julie Berg. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank our departing directors for their service. And would you join me in a virtual round of applause for them? Thank you. We look forward to working with them as they continue to be active members of the foundation. Thank you. And speaking of Julie, this is a great time to pass the mic to her as our governance chair for the next phase of the program. Thank you, and please take it away, Julie.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you. Before presenting the slate, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about our recruiting process. The governance committee made a call for nominations in May, inviting members with a passion for the foundation's work and also an interest in board service to apply to be on the board. At that time, we shared the board competency framework that Chris just referenced, and that framework identifies our aspirations for the board to reflect the diversity of ideas, skills, experiences, and identities that we feel are needed for the membership voice to be brought forward and to successfully govern the foundation. We also shared that we were seeking candidates that would model our values, that demonstrate courage to challenge assumptions, possess a deep curiosity, had the time and commitment for board service, and also a willingness to serve as ambassadors for the foundation. Each year, we also identify specific skills or experiences that we think would be helpful to have on the board, given our priorities for the year and also the current composition of the board. And this year, we were looking for new directors who brought leadership skills and experience, and/or community-based not-for-profit experience, advocacy, community organizing, or human resources, strategic planning, or finance, audit, and accounting experience. Following our initial conversations with those interested, we asked them to complete a statement of interest, and then they participated in a conversation with multiple members of the governance committee. And we were super excited to talk to and learn from and learn about the variety of amazing members that we have at the foundation in this year's recruiting process. So I wanted to thank all of the members that showed an interest in serving on the board. Today, on behalf of the governance committee, I'm thrilled to present a slate with 6 new directors who, according to our bylaws, are eligible to serve on an initial 3-year term beginning January 1st, 2024. And drum roll, they are Aru Shandekar, Bobby Conti, Karen McKelvey, Janet Frohnmeyer, Martha Lucas, and Nicole Stelner. And each of these women bring their own combination of amazing talent, skills, and lived experience to board service. I'd like to introduce you to each of them very briefly so you have a name, a face, and know a touch more about them and their involvement in the foundation and why we are especially excited to have them on the board. Aru has been an active member since 2011, and many of you know and recognize Aru as she's chaired our pool fund grant committee and also the impact assessment committee. We are thrilled that Aru will bring her deep understanding of our grant process and her passion and connection to the membership to her board service. Bobby has been a member since 2021 and has been active in grant committees. In addition to board service, Bobby will also serve as the vice chair of the Collective Grants Committee this year. So you will see her in multiple roles this year. And we're excited to have Bobby bring her curiosity, her directness, and her skills translating strategic plans into action to the board. Janet joined the foundation in 2002 and has been an active member and leader in a variety of committees. Most recently, she's been a member and co-leader for the Planning Committee for Intersect and now Convening. And we are excited to have Janet bring her deep experience and history with the foundation and our membership, and also her unique experiences in community collaboration and leadership. Karen joined the foundation in 2021 and has been a great contributor to grant committees. And we're excited to have Karen bring her experience working in the not-for-profit, philanthropy, and also her passion for social justice to the board. Martha joined the foundation also in 2021 and has been an active contributor to the Rest and Repair cohort. And we're thrilled to have Martha bring her deep community-centered nonprofit leadership and community engagement to our board. And finally, Nicole joined the foundation in 2017 and has been an active member and leader in a variety of grant committees, most recently chairing the Collective Grants Committee. And Nicole brings extensive governance, finance, and strategic planning experience to the board. So we're thrilled to have put all 6 new directors on the slate. We also have 3 renewing board members eligible to serve an additional 3-year term. And they are Cedra Dufon-Heidi, Barbara Fielden, and our chair, Chris Kamenichi. So this slate consists of 6 new and 3 returning members, and it was approved by the board of directors at our September meeting and presented to the membership by email last month. And I'm pleased to share that we have already received sufficient proxies to select the slate and their new and additional terms. So we are, though, for the good of the order, for those of you who have not already submitted your proxies, we'd like to ask that the slate be approved by those present today. And so the governance committee moves the acceptance of the slate, and I'm going to read this so that I get it right. And that is calling for a vote. We're going to call for a vote by Zoom. And I will invite you to signify a vote in favor by unmuting your microphone and saying aye. If you're opposed, then following, please signify by unmuting your microphone and saying nay. If you wish to abstain from the vote, please note your abstention in the chat box. So for those that have not already submitted your proxies, all those in favor, please unmute and say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. All right, the ayes have it, as we already knew, but it's official. I am pleased to announce the election of Arun Chandakar, Bobby Conti, Karen McKelvey, Janet Frohnmeyer, Martha Lucas, and Nicole Stelner, and the re-election of Cedra Dufon-Heidi, Barbara Fielden, and Chris Kamenichi to the Foundation's Board of Directors. A hearty welcome to our new directors. As a member, I'm thrilled to have you represent the membership on the board. I also wanted to take an opportunity to thank the other board members that aren't up for re-election. You'll see them on your screen so that you have a chance to look at faces and names and again, recognize who your board of directors are as you see them at events and also in grant committees and such. And now it's my pleasure to pass the baton over to our amazing President and CEO, Maria Colby-Wolf.
Hi, everybody. I'm apologies for being discombobulated. I'm juggling slides and all of you. Welcome. I'm super happy to see you all and be here with all of you today. It's been this is my 3rd annual meeting, if you can believe that, and it has been, I will tell you, the best job ever. So thank you very much. Time really just flies when you're having fun, right? And this meeting is going to fly right by. To get started, I'm going to go ahead and now there's going to be a lot of PowerPoint because of course we're going to get started with finances. So let's get started with that. Hold on just a second. Share. All right, finances. We're going to go over in a very high level. I'm going to walk you through our 2022 audited financials and the 2023 budget. Our audited financial statement and our annual report will be up on our website at the conclusion of this meeting. Isabel, when you get a chance, if you could drop the link to that location into the chat sometime through the course of the next few minutes together. All right, audit of financials. Another clean audit at Washington Women's Foundation. As you can see, the bulk of our revenue, as it has always been, is coming from membership contributions. This includes both annual fund gifts and membership donations. You can also see here that the lift, even a small bequest can have on our revenue. If you haven't already, please consider including Washington Women's Foundation in your estate plans. It really does make a difference in our revenue numbers when it pops in. For those who are curious, all bequests and planned gifts that are not restricted are put into the board discretionary fund for the board to determine where our greatest need might be at the time. Operations, grant making, educational programs, whatever it might be. I also wanted to be sure you're not alarmed by the fact that our expenses appear to be well north of our revenue by about $470 some odd thousand. As a reminder, we spent about $550,000 last year out of Women's Funding Alliance Fund for Women and Girls and out of the board discretionary fund for the rest and repair awards. Yes, we're spending more than we took in, but that's because we had money in the savings, right? Or in the bank. It doesn't show up as revenue, those dollars, but it is money that we can access at will. Actual expenses without those grants for which we already had the cash on hand was about 1.3 million. That change in net assets that you see of negative 1.5 million at the bottom of your screen is primarily our stock market losses in 2022. And that we were spending down, of course, that $500,000 in cash that we'd put aside for the exact purpose that we spent it on, right, for grant making. Please know that this change in net assets that you see here has not impacted the robust nature of our financial strength. Here's our financial strength at the closing of 2022 and the opening of 2023. We ended last year and started this year with a $3.3 million endowment, which is still a healthy endowment for us, regardless of the drop we took in investment income. The board discretionary fund is still very robust, even with that $500,000 out of it for our rest and repair awards. Fair warning, this will be a lower again number when you see it at the end of this year, because of course we're spending another $500,000 on our rest and repair awards. Next year, you should be expecting the board discretionary fund to be closer to that $300,000, $250,000 marker. This is still a very healthy discretionary fund, especially when you look at our working capital. For those of you who aren't up on all these terms, and I know I'm throwing a lot of them at you, I want to be sure that you understand what working capital is. This is money that you should think of as cash on hand, for lack of the term working capital. Most of these dollars are in our bank account, in money market accounts, in CDs, etc. For those of you who pay attention to these kinds of things, we are very careful to keep no more than $250,000 in any one banking institution. This number, this $1.1 million number represents our liquidity, and we are in really great shape here. Basically, that's an entire year's worth of operations for us, including our grant making, in addition to that board discretionary fund. So our financial strength as we came into 2023 was very strong. We entered 2023 with $5.3 million in investments, a board discretionary fund that is also invested, and cash or easily liquidated assets in that working capital line. Now, I did want to share with you what the budget was for this year of 2023 versus what we budgeted for last year, so you can see what it is we've been operating under for this entire year. This is our budgeted revenue for 2023 versus 2022. About 1.9 million to 2 versus 1.8 million to 1.9. This is what we started the year intending to bring in revenue and where we thought that revenue might be coming from. As you can see by the percentages, the differences between the 2 years pretty minor. Little adjustments here and there. Our expenses were also not shatteringly different this year from last either. We don't have a particularly complicated operating, way that we work. Here's our expenses for 2022. These are budgeted expenses and budgeted budgeted revenue is what you were just looking at. We are, of course, still finalizing the budget for 2024, but I will tell you at this moment, it does not look that different than these two from 2022 or 2023. The biggest difference next year for 2024 will be that there will be no rest and repair awards. So our total grant making will drop back down to about $550,000 versus this $1 million marker. But our total, expenses and our total revenue, or the revenue line, will also will reflect that same $550,000 not being part of our work. I also want to remind you that the operating expenses listed here are primarily our educational events. So this one right here, these operational expenses, the $208,000 in 2023, the $189,000 in 2022, those are primarily our educational events. So these are still nonprofit activities that we're doing. These are still our programs, speakers, catering, venues, all of that. That's mostly what makes up that $200,000. So that's what's in there. Before I go any further, on the rest of this, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and ask if there's any questions about our financials before I go any further. I see Roberta, your hand.
Yes. Why is there no rest and repair grant for next year?
We don't, because those dollars were put aside, $1 million was put aside out of the board discretionary fund, which was robust, and out of a bequest that came in, and from an anonymous donor who contributed the dollars to make up that $1 million. And it was $500,000 last year, $500,000 this year. So the rest and repair awards will be, we don't know yet if it's sunsetting or a hiatus. And I'll tell you why. It's a lot of money. Right? It's a lot of money for us to raise. So we will need to think very seriously about if Washington Women's Foundation would like to commit to rest and repair for long term. We're gonna need some millions behind that. And I'm not entirely certain at this point that that's the direction that we're headed. Right now, our collective giving seems very much more the direction that our membership is running in. But I'm happy to entertain to contemplate the possibilities. And I'd love to continue them. I love them so much. But that's why that they're going
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions about our financials? Then I'll dive into the rest of it. And I may not see your hand, so if you can use the reaction button with the hand, I'll see you pop up right at the beginning. Okay. Oh, yes. Laura.
I appreciate it. It looked like our membership has gone down, our percentage-wise. Is that a trend that we're expecting to continue, or are we actually hoping that's gonna? I just was curious about that.
Yeah, and I do talk about it a little bit later on, but I will tell you just really quickly, our membership has been dribbling away for the last 7 years. So it has been dripping steadily, slower and lower. This upcoming year, or this year right now, 2023, if everything holds, we will have stopped the slide. This year looks like we are starting to turn things around, which I'm very excited about. But right now we're sort of even to where we were last year at this point in time. So later on, I will be telling you all the ways that people can go out and get us new members, because that's really what we need to be really focusing on as a body, among other things, for next year. But good question, Laura. Other thoughts or questions about the financials? Let me see if there's anything in chat. No. Okay, I will go ahead then and get started. There's another spot for questions a little later on. So if something occurs to you later, you can ask later. So that'll be fine. Let me see. I'm going to do this complicated activity again of sharing my screen. Share away from current slide. Okay. All right. So let's get off the numbers now and go on to some other Good stuff. A look back and a look forward. We're going to take a look now where we've been and where we're going. And for those of you who remember, we're going to go back to the soap. For those of you who have been members for the last few years, you may recall me mentioning the soap repeatedly and warning you that you would be seeing it a lot in the future. For our newer members, or for those of you who haven't been able to make it to this meeting previously, welcome to the SOAP. A SOAP stands for Strategy on a Page. And in this case, it is our 5-year strategic plan that was originally approved by the board in May of 2018. If you are counting, yes, this is technically our final year with this plan. However, as you may recall, there was this pandemic thing in the middle of it all, which slowed our momentum on the plan a little bit. That said, despite the slowdown, our plans and goals did remain almost entirely unchanged since 2018, and we have worked steadily towards completion of this plan. I wanted to revisit it with you today to remind you of just how far we've come in the last 5 years. We are doing mop-up on this next year, even if as we begin to look ahead at what our next 5 years might look like. The vision, as you can see at the top of this page, of Washington Women's Foundation is to change the course of women's philanthropy through collective giving. And our mission is that we are a strong and inclusive collective of informed women who together influence community transformation through individual and collective discovery, through high impact grant making, and by listening to and respecting all voices in our community. Our plan in 2018 was designed with 4 pillars to support and advance this mission and vision. Focus on reducing disparities and increasing equity in Washington State. Fuel a thriving nonprofit sector working to advance equity. Grow an inclusive community of powerful agents for change. And create a culture and structure based on partnership and power sharing. Under each of these pillars are a series of tactics we thought would help us achieve those strategic pillars. I am not going to go over all of these with you right now, but I do want us to take a look at the big shifts we made in the last 2 years and underscore how they fall into this vision, mission, and strategy that we set out years ago. In 2022, we refreshed our grants and educational programming. Our education and grant programming now focuses on themes with dynamic, timely priorities that we explore each year. Within our major grant, the collective grant, we've listened to our nonprofit partners and reduced their workload, shifting our proposal stage to a research stage and shifting our previous written report to a relationship building conversation experience with our grantee engagement team. We fund throughout our granting process now, offering small and large grants within a particular field. And of course, we added several new ways to give and to look at our funding, supporting specifically women and girls, supporting advocacy, and giving directly to individuals through our rest and repair awards. And in 2023, we did not stop with those transformations. We tackled membership and financial structures, reimagining our membership into tiers and shifting our financial landscape in the process. By adding nonprofit and under 40 memberships, we are expanding our collective to better reflect some of the people we want to serve, our nonprofit partners, and the younger people who will be living with the changes we hope to create for many years to come. We still have a long way to go when it comes to further diversifying our membership, but that is an ongoing effort in building relationships and trust. And these things, relationships and trust, they take time. We introduce our sustaining and legacy memberships, encouraging our members to think of the long-term health and financial strength of the foundation. And in our attempts to be more inclusive, we explored some of the barriers to entry with lower price points, rolling renewals so that members can give on their own timelines, and monthly payments to assist with member cash flow concerns. Rolling renewals in the monthly payment system, by the way, also help Washington Women's Foundation budget our organizational cash flow. I don't know how many of you know this, but 65% of our memberships come in between October and December, just as we're ending our fiscal year. So yes, it is very stressful for those of us who are looking at the numbers, but we never know if we'll reach our budgeted revenue until a few days into the new year when all the checks come in from the end of December. Having renewals that happen well before that date or that come in every month really helps us plan our institutional finances better. Finally, to be sure that all our new members find themselves in an inclusive space, we created our community norms document, which is used in our meetings as a standard of conduct. That's a lot of change in 2 years. But as always, another year is coming. So what are we going to do here? We're going to take a breath. We're going to take a breath. 2024 is a year to stop. It's a year to listen to our community, with a focus this year on our internal community, a time to reflect on our changes and the future, a time to think about what comes next. We'll be exploring big questions this year about the foundation's direction, to both inform our next strategic plan and to address unfinished items from the last one. We may not come up with answers to everything, but we'll ask a lot of questions. We'll be hosting throughout the year member forums for good group conversations on various topics, sending surveys out, both small and large, asking for your opinions. And I will try to connect with even more of you for more one-on-one conversations where we can talk about what's on your mind and what's on mine. So get ready for some big questions, which may be not entirely possible, all of them, but maybe like, what are we doing around advocacy? How do we grow our grant making? How do we grow our membership? You know, one of the questions, I have to tell you, one of the questions I've received several times this past year from younger people who are interested in joining our membership is whether or not we accept non-binary people who present as female. We should probably know what we think about that. Do we need to have a deeper conversation about gender and who we accept as members? I tell you, I do not know. I do not know the answer, but we should think about it, right? Do we want to add disability to our race and gender inequity lens? Have we achieved our goal of developing powerful change agents out of our members? Are there other ways Washington Women's Foundation wants to explore making change happen in the world? These are gigantic questions, and we may not get to all of them next year. And I do not know the answers to any of them. And we may not answer them this year, but this is the kind of thinking and work that we will probably need to start working on so that we know where we're going for the next 5 years. So we'll also be asking you to submit some of your big questions. What sorts of questions do you have for the future of Washington Women's Foundation? What visions or dreams do you have for this collective? We'll be asking, please respond to our surveys and come to our member forums so that we can hear from you. Speaking of changes, I should probably say something more about the advocacy grant. After the advocacy committee concluded this year, we heard a lot of concerns about its purpose. Our nonprofit partners questioned our commitment to systemic change, given that we were still prioritizing through our large collective grants the direct service organizations we've funded for years. If we really cared about systemic change, they asked, why would we be giving such relatively small grants in support of that work? The members on the committee shared these concerns as well. They also voiced the same concerns. And they also found that as an organization, we were collectively unclear about what we meant by advocacy. Despite the fact that we had a definition, it was still very amorphous as to exactly what it was we were trying to achieve with this grant. So in response to these concerns, because we pride ourselves in listening, right, to our nonprofit partners, the board decided to put our advocacy grant on a little hiatus in 2024 and form a task force of members. So here's your first chance, right, to let us know what you think. A task force of members to work through exactly how we want to do advocacy at Washington Women's Foundation. What do we want to call it? Where do we think our lane is? In the meantime, we are looking to possibly redirect dollars into the collective grant to give larger gifts at the earlier stages, do some other sort of grant making. We don't want to stop giving money to the community just because we're still figuring out exactly how we want to go forward. If you were part of the advocacy grant in the past, or this is a topic that interests you, I strongly encourage you to join the task force. I also want to say a word about this hiatus. This is not, and I cannot stress this enough, this is not a failure. This is how experiential learning works. We try things. And if they don't work, we give it a think and we try something else. This is okay. It is okay that we have to shift gears a little bit when we discover our actions haven't been effective. We are a learning organization, and it is literally impossible to know everything, especially when you're being bold and trying out new ideas and trying to figure out how you're going to make the world a better place. I tell you, I am excited to see what our next option on this front might look like. I'm also deeply grateful to our nonprofit partners who trusted us with their perspectives on our grant making with honesty about the impact that we were having. So what might this look like? The task force will come up with some ideas, but it could look like, will we be training members on how to be advocates for issues that they care about as individuals? Will we be funding advocacy and direct service organizations in our collective grants? Will we be putting together a committee that determines issues that we take a collective stand on? I don't know. But we'll be asking for your thoughts, and I look forward to finding out our answers together alongside all of you. Membership and contributions. This is a reminder. Thank you very much for that opening earlier. A reminder to spread the love. We need more members and we need more contributions. That's always the case. We're a 501c3, just like all of our other nonprofit partners, and we always need more people involved. So a brief reminder or an update if you weren't aware. A couple of things that are out there right now. We have a matching fund challenge on right now through December. A donor who is not a member, thank you so much, but supports our work has given a $20,000 matching fund challenge to the members of Washington Women's Foundation to give to the annual fund. Between now and December 31st, every gift you give to the annual fund during this time frame will be matched up to $20,000. So now is a great time to give an annual fund gift to the Washington Women's Foundation. I just said that 2024 will be a time for a lot of internal listening, but that doesn't mean we should stop our external talking, right? Since 2017, as I mentioned earlier, Washington Women's Foundation has been slowly sliding in our number of members. From our high of 498, we are now holding steady at 320. Happily, as I said, if 2023 continues as it has been going, we will have stopped that slide for the first time in 7 years, which is fabulous. And now it's time to really ramp up on bringing in new members. The more members we have, the more we can do together. So I'm asking you today to give what you can to the annual fund and recruit one person in your circle to join you as a member. And we're going to give you lots of ways that you can do that. Here are a few ways you can take action on membership and support our revenue growth in the coming year. You can invite people to our events. It's one of the most effective means of getting new members is having them come to an event. You can host a house party where you invite people and I can come and talk, other people can come and talk and share what their experiences have been as a member. You can talk about Washington Women's Foundation with your colleagues and your friends, share what it is you're doing here and how you found it. You can always invite the CEO, that would be me. You can always invite me to speak at your other organizations and associations. I'm happy to come and talk about philanthropy, about women in philanthropy, about DEI issues in fundraising, about DEI issues in organizational structures, whatever. I can talk about a lot of different things. Feel free to reach out to me and we can come up with something for organizations or associations you're a part of. Give to the annual fund. And we do have events pop up, convening and the grant award celebration in particular, which are ripe for sponsorship. So if you work at an organization that does sponsorships or at a firm that does sponsorships, please reach out and we can set you up to be a sponsor at one of our events. And we're happy to help on staff as well with this, right? We promise to throw interesting events and conversations and learning opportunities that you can invite people to. We have a collateral for house parties. If you're interested in having one of those, we have a whole, here's the structure for your event. Here's all the stuff you need. We have all that for you. We updated our website, so it's much clearer on how to navigate and what it is we do. So it's a really great recruiting tool as well for you and a place to go for information. We have quarterly Let's Talk membership info sessions, by the way, so you're always welcome to invite a friend to go to that. Members of our Member and Resource Development Committee are there to answer questions about what it is like to be a member. And of course, we do advertising to get our name out there in the world. We actually did receive memberships that came in this year, both from our KUOW spots and from our LinkedIn advertising. So both of those things have been successful and we will continue to do it into next year. One of the best ways, as I said, to bring in new members is to invite them to events. Here are a few that are coming up for the rest of the year. And I will say Pop Up for Women and Girls is a great one to invite people to. It is a lot of fun. It's a great way to introduce people to grant making in sort of a quick collective format. And it's $50 for dinner and drinks. So it's a good deal. So come on in. It is one of the most unique events that I have seen. And I will tell you, I have seen a lot of events. And it's really, really fun. I strongly recommend getting a group of friends together, male or female or non-binary, and bring them to this event and have a good time giving away some money for women and girls. Okay. The last piece of the 2024 puzzle, our priorities for next year. We had 146 members vote on these priorities this year, which is exactly one more person than last year voting. So yay. And let's see what we'll be learning about and granting in next year. In arts and community culture, boop. Direct artist support received 12% of the vote. Art as a way of healing received 16%, and our 2022 priority, community cultural preservation, was still very popular at 32%. But our winner this year will be expanding access to arts in schools at 40% of the vote. Therefore, in 2024, we are interested in learning more about the benefits of and barriers to arts education in Washington State, as well as the impact of expanded access to arts in K-12 school settings. We will be investing in the integration of arts in public school settings and expanding access to arts for students in grades K-12. In law, justice, and incarceration, our second priority, legal aid for impacted communities received 14% of your vote. Our 2022 priority, the school to prison pipeline, received 22%, and youth incarceration and diversion received 26%. But our winner for 2024 is reentry support at 38%. Therefore, in 2024, we are interested in learning more about the unique challenges individuals leaving incarceration face and how reentry support can assist them holistically in this transition, in turn improving their experience and reducing recidivism. We will be investing in the specific types of support that individuals leaving incarceration need to thrive. I do want to point out that obviously we care deeply for children here at Washington Women's Foundation, and I encourage all of you interested in that aspect of law, justice, and incarceration, the school to prison pipeline and the youth incarceration and diversion. I encourage you all to look at our giving guide from 2022, where you'll find several really great organizations working in this arena that you can support directly. And finally, housing and hunger, access to healthy food received 11% of the vote. Low income and affordable housing received 20%. Housing and hunger diversion services received 27%. And our winner in 2022 and in 2024 is mental health and housing. All right, so we are returning to once more focus on mental health and housing, I think speaks both to the recalcitrance of this issue and our members' obvious interest in diving deeper into what we discovered 2 years ago. For those who don't know, in 2022, this priority was by far the most, you know what, let's see, I heard a lot about what was going on in these particular committee meetings more than any of the other committees. The definitions we began with that year didn't seem to fit what was happening on the ground. There were many different opinions in the committee about what constituted mental health. How mental illness and housing cross-contaminated one another was difficult to pick apart. It was the committee with by far the most conflict and debate. And given that, it does not surprise me that our members aren't done with the conversation. So in light of the really rich learning that came out of that 2022 experience, the grant leadership and staff created a different definition for this year's focus that we felt both honored the category title of mental health and housing while still incorporating our more nuanced understanding from the granting that we've done in this field previously. So just for reference, in 2022, our definition was focusing on the intersection of mental health and housing and supporting organizations that address the many ways trauma and mental health can create additional challenges and unique needs in housing. For 2024, however, our more nuanced and informed take on this definition is as follows. We are interested in learning more about the systemic intersections of housing instability, and mental health, including addiction. We are investing in culturally relevant mental health and addiction recovery services for people who lack stable housing, including organizations with counseling staff and/or those working with a network of external providers. We'll see what happens this year with mental health and housing. If you recall, I mentioned way back when we first rolled out our new themes and priorities framework that we might find ourselves wanting to return to a specific priority for multiple years. I admit, I did not know it would happen like the very first time we did it, but I'm absolutely not surprised that it did occur. I look forward to learning more with you in 2024 about mental health and housing. Final housekeeping. Recruit more members. Every member get a member. Everyone get one. Let's go. Give to the annual fund now and have your gift matched. Get your pop-up tickets. Get your friends' pop-up tickets. Buy a table. Become a sponsor. Be part of pop-up. It's a lot of fun. And get excited for our next steps in learning, in granting, listening, and thinking together in 2024. It's going to be a great year, y'all. I believe it. All right, it's time for questions. I'm going to stop sharing in the show. Stop share. All right, it's open for questions. As I said, if you can click that little response button, it helps me see you a lot quicker. There's a lot of us on the call, which is great. Questions? Thoughts? Feelings? Thank you, Heidi. Oh my God. Thank you for having a question. Yes, please go ahead.
I'm just wondering, the change in the dues structures for people under 40 and for people who are part of nonprofit organizations, has that been successful? I'm just curious to know what effect that's had.
Yeah, we've had actually a lot of nonprofit members join, which has been really fun. And I will tell you, we had a lot of members who went up to that $5,000 level to subsidize that to such a degree that we actually have more members go to 5,000. So that's fully subsidized, those $900 memberships. And so, yeah, it's been really successful. And the nonprofit members that have joined have really been appreciative of having this opportunity. So it's we're going to continue. I will say we only have one person who joined who was under 40. So at least that used that particular membership level as an under 40. So we have work to do on our younger folks. Diane.
I just wanted to say how delighted I am that mental health and housing is coming back for an encore as part of that group. We worked really hard, and I think the new, improved, revised definition will be useful. So
yeah, Catherine and Aviva and I worked on that.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I'm so glad that you're excited, because we are too, to see how we go this time. It's, you know, the more we know, the better we can get at our grant making, I think. Kay.
Yes, I went to pop-up last year and thought it was really fun, but honestly, I was just a little confused about how the whole thing came about and how it actually was meant to work. So we kind of just went along with the flow. But maybe if you either just want to send us out a really clear definition of like what the event is about, how it works, or you can tell us now. But I think overall, to encourage people to come, just need a little more definition of what to expect.
You're so right, Kay, because I will admit this was not my idea, and the staff member brought it to me. I was like, I don't know, we'll see. And then it was amazing. And I felt really bad that I had been so sort of like, I don't know. Pop-up. What happens in our Women and Girls Committee is that the committee narrows down the number of grantee options available to 9, 3 in each sort of priority that we're looking at. And then everyone sits down at the tables when they get to pop-up, and we divide the room up into 3 equal groups, looking at each one of the priorities and the 3 different grantees. We go over our criteria. So we have a conversation at the table about our criteria, our race and gender criteria. We think about the organizations very quickly about who looks like they're fitting in with those criteria. We then have somebody at the table we choose somebody at the table, or they choose somebody at the table that goes up to the front to present on which group they think should get the grant. And then the room votes. And that's how we grant out $45,000. So it's $15,000 per priority. It's like take our entire collective grant process and shrink it. A lot of the research has already been done for you by our members who are in the committee. They have document, tells you about the organization, the research they have, shrinks it down, and then we roll with it. So that's how it is. It's really fun. And we had nonprofit partners who were part of it who was like, we've never been a part of grant making before, and we didn't realize how hard it was. I was like, yes, exactly. So it was a really interesting conversations with folks, and we actually netted quite a few members who joined us after having been at that event. Yeah. So it's good. And yes, Kate, good idea. We'll try to be more explicit when we talk about how it works.
And I just thought of one other thing thinking about it, is that I didn't really understand that I should have actually done my homework before I came. So, even though you'd sent out a nice thing, I still didn't really understand what responsibility I had at the event. So it would be good to encourage people to do their homework before they get there.
Read your pamphlets, exactly, because you'll be voting again. Ellen.
I just wanted to say thank you for the thoughtfulness in having us provide input next year, for listening and questioning and learning, because change is always difficult and we probably need a little bit of time to reflect and collect what we've learned and share it, and we'll all be stronger. So thank you to whoever and all the people who helped make that decision. I think it's a very good one for us.
Glad to hear. I'm so looking forward to having a year to just hear from all y'all about what we want to do next. It'll be fun. I have lots of ideas about how we're going to get group forums together. So lots of time together, hopefully in person, more in person than not, I'll be honest. I see here in the comments, Stacy, the detailed breakdown of the member demographics. Yeah, I can absolutely do some of that for you. And maybe that's probably maybe it's another little pop-up member meeting where we're like, hey, by the way, here's what our membership looks like. Because I could throw that together and do something in January. We could just have a little membership deep dive, so you all understood sort of what it looks like. I will tell you, a majority of our members are, 50 and older, and they are majority white, and they're well off. So that's sort of the big broad strokes. I'm sure that's shocking to all of you. But it's also been interesting. We've been doing some cutting and slicing and dicing about how long do people stay members? How do people use their membership? What does the membership mean to people? These are questions that we've wrestled with a bit, and that help inform how it works. Some folks really do come to us because they love the educational aspect. Some people come because they don't know quite how to get involved in philanthropy. Some come because they really are interested in change and think this is a great way to do it. Some come because they want to be with other women and do this work together. So there's a lot of ways in which people come into our shared workspace. And now it's just a matter of engaging all those people in all the ways that they love, and then keeping them, and then getting more. That's the wrestle that we have a little bit. I'm looking at messages. All right. Anything else anyone wants to say, or comments, questions about the finances, about the advocacy grant, about our year of learning and listening, about membership, about the priorities? All right. Sweet. 5 minutes to spare. Well, that's a wrap then. You all are happy to pop off if you like. We did record it. If you know of somebody who wasn't able to attend who would like to know what happened, we will send around the recording so you can all see it again. And thanks, Christy. And I will see you all on the other side. hopefully a pop-up. We'll see you all at pop-up. Actually, there's some really good other events coming up that I strongly encourage you. The Women and Girls, Funding for Women and Girls event. I think you'll be shocked at how little funding goes to women and girls. And maybe you won't be, but it's really pathetic. So come on over and we'll be talking about some of those funding landscapes in the world of women and girls at the end of this month. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon. And of course, if you have any other questions, you're always welcome to send them my way.